Welcome to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Jolene Ibanez, and I'm your worship associate today. Reverend Sean Wiltshire, our minister, is here. Jacob Swetland, our director of music ministries, is here, with our music being led by Susan Shaw. And we have our director of religious education, Danielle Lewis, but more regarding that later. We all welcome you this morning. We would like to recognize that the many volunteers that have helped put this service together today. We respectfully recognize that our church property rests on a Hachiman and Tongva land. As Unitarian Universalists, we have many different beliefs, but we are one loving community. We are bound together not by a common set of rules or beliefs, but rather a covenant. And a covenant is just a promise that whatever our beliefs, we accept one another and encourage each other in spiritual growth. We affirm that all life has inherent value. All existence is interconnected. We strive for justice and compassion in our deeds and relationships, and we are committed to creating a welcoming community without regard to the traits that sometimes divide people. To our roomers, we invite you to silence your cell phones. For our Zoomers, we would love for you to say hello in the chat. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you will find it here. We begin our worship with the lighting of our chalice. This morning, I'd like to invite Maria Good to light our chalice. She's been a member for about 15 years, and she broke the rules and was the hospitality chair for about 10. As she lights the chalice, let us say our unison affirmation together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. This we affirm together.
Please rise in body or spirit, and let's sing our opening song.
Witness the mystery of this hour. I love it. So if some of you were looking around the sanctuary this morning and thought, wow, a lot of people are wearing orange today. Is this some weird cult thing going on? No. Today, if you weren't aware, is the National Day of Gun Violence Awareness. And so we are going to be talking about that very difficult topic, and then we are going to go after the service out to the corner of Mesa Verde and Harbor to have a little demonstration. We've got signs and things like that, so bring your wonderful selves and let's get people honking and making some awareness of as to what's going on. So, and I want to invite you all also, because this is a difficult topic and we're going to be talking about difficult, hard things, to take care of yourself, right? If it's too hard, if you've been someone who's suffered from gun violence and this is too much, please take care of yourself. If you need to leave, that's okay. No judgment at all, okay? Because this is hard and quite frankly, it's infuriating. So we're going to ease into this morning with a beautiful song by our choir. And in this song, there's a line that says, "We speak truth with strength and compassion," which is what we hope to do today. And speaking truth is never easy, but we're going to do that. I hope you join me. Exactly.
We walk in love, united in purpose. We join our hands and lift up one voice. We speak the truth with strength and compassion, resounding with hope, with courage and joy. We cry for peace and rights for all people. We welcome friends from far and near. We fight for those whose voices are silenced, resisting in faith until all are free. We dream a world of justice and kindness. We build a bridge, creating new paths. We march with joy as all walk together, embracing each one. We boldly stand, embracing each one. We boldly stand.
And boldly we stand together. And our Time for All Ages story this morning is called "The Smallest Girl in the Smallest Grade," a little girl who spoke up when she saw something wrong.
The smallest girl in the smallest grade. Hardly anyone noticed young Sally McCabe. She was the smallest girl in the smallest grade. Sure, her name could be heard in the daily roll call, and she marched with her books down the same school hall. But hardly anyone noticed young Sally McCabe, and they certainly didn't know, or at least didn't mention, that Sally was paying super extra special attention. To the abandoned kite with the tangled string, to the 27 keys on the janitor's ring, to the leaves as they turn green to gold in the fall, to the time Tommy Torino was tripped in the hall. She watched as the wildflowers tipped toward the light, and heard the howl of a hound dog late one night. She was there when the stray cats who normally fought conducted a meeting in the church parking lot. She saw Kevin McCune get pushed off a slide and the oncoming tears that he wanted to hide. And she'll never forget that parent-teacher day when Billy's much larger father suddenly dragged him away. But through all the mean words and all the cold stares, no one even noticed that Sally was there. And they certainly didn't know, or at least didn't mention, that Sally was paying super extra special attention. She'd seen how a whisper could make someone cower like a bulldozer crushing through fields of wildflowers, and it kept piling up, this discarded debris, those beautiful kites tangled in trees. So on February 3rd at 11:29, Sally stepped straight out of the lunchroom line. She said, "I'm tired of seeing this terrible stuff. Stop hurting each other. This is enough." Now, a few laughed out loud or didn't care that there was some little girl with her hand in the air. But then something super extra special happened that day as Howard O. Henry suddenly set down his tray. Like waves rolling in, one after another, first Molly rose up, then Michael's twin brother. It was Tyrone and Terence, then Amanda and Paul, who pushed out their chairs and stretched their arms tall. From the friendly lunch lady with the dishes she carted, to that new third-grade teacher who had only recently started. Yes, everyone there, even Principal Claire, had joined little Sally with their fingers in the air. And though hound dogs were destined to howl at night, and most stray cat meetings would end up as fights, and kites would continue to get stuck in trees, they all felt for a moment like the janitor's keys. Fastened together with a heavy steel ring, they held all the secrets to unlock everything. As the world returned to the way that it was, Sally noticed the difference, as she usually does, when Billy paused briefly to open the door for Mrs. O'Connell and 17 more, or when Molly scooched over to make some space on the coral riser for Ellen and Grace. These moments that often get taken for granted, a wildflower appearing that no one had planted. The swing soon resumed their rhythm and sway, and day turned to night, and night turned to day. People remembered, and would quite often mention that Sally had been paying super extra special attention, and how the world could transform and a change could be made by the smallest girl in the smallest grade. The end.
So before we sing our children out, I want to introduce you to someone very, very special that many of you have not met yet. I'd like to invite our new Director of Religious Education up here. Her name is Danielle Lewis. Come on up, Danielle. So Danielle comes to us from Ohio, and she's got a background in teaching children both in churches and outside of churches, and she's learning lots about Unitarian Universalism and has a loving, an open mind, a loving heart, and helping hand. So we're really delighted to have her here. Please, she literally started on Thursday, so be kind and supportive and give her some grace as she learns this position. Would you like to say anything?
You kind of covered it all,
Okay.
honestly. I'm just very excited to be with you all. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm sure I'll have questions. So, like she said, kind of bear with us a little bit.
Right on. Well, would you like to light our children's chalice?
Absolutely. Excuse me.
And then we will sing our children out to their religious education classes.
Hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go, to nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
Okay, remember this is the day you want to take care of yourselves. I'm going to begin with this reading. It's a poem called The Opposites Game. Maybe you've played this game with your children or in classes if you're a teacher. This is by Brendan Constantine. He wrote this. This day, my students and I play the opposites game with a line from Emily Dickinson. My life stood a loaded gun, it goes, and I write it on the board, pausing so they can call out the antonyms. My, your, life, death, had stood, will sit. A, many, loaded, empty, gun. Gun. For a moment, very much like the one between lightning and its sound, the children just stare at me. And then it comes, a flurry, a hailstorm of answers. Flower, says one. No book, says another. That's stupid, cries a third. The opposite of a gun is a pillow, or maybe a hug, but not a book. No way is it a book. With the others gather their thoughts. And suddenly it's a shouting match. No one can agree. For every student there's a final answer. It's a song, a prayer, a promise, like a wedding ring and later a baby. Or what's that person who delivers babies? A midwife, yes, a midwife. No, that's wrong. You're so wrong, you'll never be right again. It's a star, a whisper. It's saying I love you with your hand and then touching someone's ear. Are you crazy? Are you the president of crazy? Of stupid land? You should be. When's the election? It's a teddy bear, a sword, a perfect peach. Go back to the first one. It's a flower, a white rose. When the bell rings, I reach for an eraser, but a girl snatches it from my hand. Nothing's decided, she says. We're not done here. I leave all the answers on the board. The next day, some of them have stopped talking to each other. They've taken sides. There's a flower club and a kitten club, and two boys calling themselves the Snowballs. The rest have stuck with the original game, which was to try to write something like poetry. It's a diamond, it's a dance, the opposite of a gun is a museum in France. It's the moon, it's a mirror, it's the sound of a bell and the hearer. The arguing starts again, more shouting, and finally a new club. For the first time, I dare to push them. Maybe all of you are right, I say. Well, maybe. Maybe it's everything we said. Maybe it's everything we didn't say. It's words and the spaces for words. They're looking at each other now. It's everything in this room and outside this room and down the street and in the sky. It's everyone on campus and at the mall and all the people waiting at the hospital and at the post office. And yeah, it's a flower too. All the flowers, the whole garden. The opposite of a gun is wherever you point it. The opposite of a gun is wherever you point it. Don't write that on the board, they say. Just say poem. Your death will sit through many empty poems. The opposite of a gun is wherever you point it. I want to invite you into a moment of contemplation and considering this poem, what children go through when they think about a gun. And what to you is the opposite of a gun. Take a deep breath. Take care of yourself. The opposite of a gun is wherever you point it. And I want to invite Katherine Martin up here to join me. She's been a longtime member of this congregation and also has been a longtime volunteer with Moms Demand Action, a group that is dedicated toward ending gun violence.
Good morning. Sean and I have talked about the topic of gun violence in the United States for over the last couple years. And this is not an easy service subject because of its seriousness, but also because it is a very multifaceted topic. Perhaps today's service will prompt a more in-depth discussions and opportunities for learning and action. But today I'm here to share my journey with you and some of the things that I have learned about this uniquely American problem. On Sunday, April 25th in 1999, I arrived early at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Laguna Beach in order to ask the Reverend Chris Schreiner if I could light the chalice that morning. 5 days earlier, 2 students in Columbine, Colorado, walked into their high school, shot and killed 12 students and a teacher, wounded 20 more before turning the guns on themselves. This was not the first school shooting in this country, but it was the first one that I was aware of. And I was horrified and heartsick and could not imagine not addressing this on a Sunday morning. 13 years later, on December 14th, 2012, in Newtown, Connecticut, a lone gunman killed 20 first graders and 6 educators at Sandy Hook Elementary. Through the shock and the tears, I remember thinking, surely this will make a difference. The day is widely acknowledged by President Obama and his inner circle as the worst in his 8 years as president. And in her book, Becoming, Michelle Obama writes that it was the only time that her husband called her to his office in the middle of a workday for her support. The president spoke to the nation and called for common sense gun legislation. 4 months later, a bipartisan measure that would have required expanded background checks for would-be gun owners and ban the sale of some military-type semi-automatic weapons failed to pass the Senate. In 2014, I stood with students at a vigil at UCI following the shooting in Isla Vista. And I listened as they told each other how they would take care of each other in the days and weeks to come. In the following 4 years, there were 46 additional mass shootings, including a San Bernardino workplace, the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida, and a country music festival in Las Vegas, Nevada. After each one, while our elected officials offered thoughts and prayers and said, now is not the time to discuss gun reform, I felt powerless, wringing my hands, wiping my tears, screaming at the radio, and cursing the power of the gun lobby in our political system. Then on Valentine's Day in 2018, 14 students and 3 faculty were killed at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. A month later, young people across the country gathered in Washington, D.C. and 880 different locations for March for Our Lives, one of the largest protests in American history. In part, their message was that their adults had failed them and that they were going to have to take action to save their own lives. That was when I decided to step off the sidelines, quit wringing my hands, and get involved. I found Moms Demand Action for gun sense in America. The day after the Sandy Hook tragedy in 2012, Shannon Watts, a stay-at-home mom at the time, posted on Facebook with the message that all Americans can and should do something about gun violence. And thus, Moms Demand Action was started. Moms has a chapter in every state and is now part of the Everytown for Gun Safety, the largest gun violence prevention organization in the country. I attended my first meeting in Orange County at the end of February 2018. I was one of about 100 people in attendance that morning. And when one of the volunteers said that data help was needed with the influx of new volunteers, I immediately stepped forward. 6 years later, I am still a volunteer. Every Town for Gun Safety includes Moms Demand Action, Students Demand Action, Mayors Against Illegal Guns, and the Everytown Survivor Network. It is a movement of mothers and others, students, gun owners, survivors, mayors. In short, people who are concerned about gun violence in our communities who know that we can do more to save lives. We work to understand the forms gun violence takes and how it impacts our communities. We work to prevent gun violence by changing laws at the federal, state, and local levels. And we support candidates for office at all levels of government if they will champion common sense gun legislation. In 2022, 140 Moms Demand Action volunteers were elected to office. We educate people about secure gun storage through the Be Smart program and educate people about extreme risk protection laws to protect those in their communities. We support gun violence interrupters, organizations made up of truly courageous men and women who are implementing proven, effective evidence and community-based solutions to gun violence. As I said at the start, the topic of gun violence and gun violence prevention is multifaceted, and we could spend hours delving into it, so I'll just share some of what I have learned. While horrific mass shootings get more attention by the media, and by extension all of us, they represent a fraction of this country's guns crisis. Instances of daily gun violence, such as city gun violence, domestic violence, firearm suicide, or unintentional shootings, and shootings by law enforcement account for the majority of the gun violence in this country, yet tend to be underrepresented in the national dialogue. Every day, more than 120 people in the United States are killed with guns, and more than 200 are shot and wounded. Each one of these people is loved by someone, and their death or injury reverberates through the lives of their families and their communities for generations. Suicides have long accounted for the majority of U.S. gun deaths. And in fact, Orange County has a gun suicide rate that is higher than the state average. Gun violence disproportionately affects Black and Latinx communities, which bear the brunt of the physical, emotional, and financial burdens. Too often, and for far too long, the people in those communities disproportionately affected by gun violence have been denied access to the halls of power, and their voices have been ignored as they seek solutions to the issues facing their communities. Members of the LGBTQ community continue to be the target of hate-fueled violence for being who they are, and they are more than twice as likely to experience violent victimization as our straight and/or cisgender people. Gun violence is now the leading cause of death for children, teens, and adults in the children, teens, and young adults in the United States. Gun violence in the United States is a public health crisis. Secure gun storage saves lives. Research shows us that the majority of people who attempt suicide and survive never attempt it again. Access to a gun at a moment of crisis may be the difference between life and death. An estimated 4.6 million children live in homes with at least one gun that is loaded and unlocked. Unintentional gun deaths are a tragic result. There are nearly 400 million guns in our streets, our homes, and our schools, and 1 million are being purchased each month. And the gun industry is making billions of dollars with a concerted effort of telling us that having more guns will make us safer. And if that were true, the United States would be the safest country on earth. In my 6 years of volunteering with Moms Demand Action, I have worked side by side with incredibly dedicated people, all of whom are committed to the goal of ending gun violence. Some of them joined at its inception, and some joined just last week. We work every single day towards a future free of gun violence. We celebrate our legislative and electoral victories and console and support one another as we face our setbacks. We acknowledge survivors' sorrow, grief, and anger, listen to their stories, and repeat the names of their loved ones taken by gun violence so that they will never be forgotten. Whenever Moms Demand Action volunteers get together, whether it's a meeting, a Zoom call, a webinar, we never leave without taking an action. And today will be the same. As Sean said, some of us will go out to the corner of Adams and Mesa Verde to spread the word that we can end gun violence. It is a way of harnessing our sorrow and our outrage into something meaningful that will make a difference. We can end gun violence. As we say in Moms Demand Action, this is a marathon, not a sprint, and we keep going. Thank you.
Somebody's shooting my neighbors and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. Oh, it's gone on far too long. Yes, somebody's shooting my neighbors and it's gone on far too long. And I won't be silent anymore. Somebody's hurting our children and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. Oh, it's gone on far too long. Yes, somebody's hurting our children and it's gone on far too long. And I won't be silent anymore. Somebody's killing my people and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. Oh, it's gone on far too long. Yes, somebody's killing my people and it's gone on far too long. And I won't be silent anymore.
On March 13th in 1996 at Dunblane Primary School in Scotland, UK, a man walked in and shot dead 16 pupils and 1 teacher and injured 15 others before killing himself. The British were so upset, appalled at this, that gun laws were changed, making gun ownership significantly more difficult than ever before. And this was the last school shooting ever in the UK. 3 years later, in April 1999, was the US mass shooting that occurred at Columbine High School in Colorado that shocked our nation. People were, of course, very upset, but no federal gun safety laws were changed. Then there was Virginia Tech, then Sandy Hook in 2012, then Pulse 2016, Parkland in 2018, and Uvalde in 2022, and many, many others in between. 118 active shooter incidents have been reported in K through 12 schools in the US since Columbine. And nearly 500 people have been killed in school shootings since Columbine. Now, some things have changed in a lot of different states, and there's put money in particular toward know the signs or red flag laws, that type of legislation, not at the federal level, but at the state level or city level. but there's been no federal law around gun safety. And there's only one word that describes this lack of response by our legislature: cowardice. In fact, in 2022, only 4% of all homicides in the UK were a result of shootings. 4%, compared with 86% of homicides in the US. But Britain, you know, okay, it's a different culture than we are, right? As are other Western nations. Why do we have to look to them for comparison? Because we haven't been able to do any research on the topic for 20 years at the federal level. Why is that? There's this thing called the Dickey Amendment. It was lobbied by the NRA and is named after a Republican senator from Arkansas. And the Dickey Amendment said that none of the funds used by the NIH or the CDC, which are our major research institutions, can be used to advocate or promote gun control. In other words, no money can be given for you to do this research, which will probably come out and say, we need gun safety control laws, right? In essence, it stopped anyone from doing research because of the outcome of the research would lead to that conclusion. And here's the thing, it's been ratified every year. Interestingly enough, one of the things about federal research is different from other types of research, where a lot of grants go to research institutions come from the NIH or the CDC that goes out to different universities and things like that so they can do their research. And federal auto industry research made cars safer. We know that this federal research makes things safer. So for example, remember there were seatbelt laws back in the 70s, remember when we started doing that? Airbags, things, safety laws in cars, all that sort of thing came about because of federal auto industry research. Same thing with federal cigarette research. The outlawing of cigarette smoking almost everywhere was because of that research, and it saved lives because that's the type of research that people really listen to. But the federal gun violence research was killed by the NRA. Now in 2018, the Dickey Amendment was modified slightly after a quarter of a century of no federal research, in that some of the monies have been allocated toward gun violence research, but federal dollars still cannot be used to promote or advocate any type of gun control. So you can do the research, but it's waiting to see, like, well, if you did it, what are you going to say about it, right? And moreover, the amount of money that's being able to they've been able to squeeze from conservative senators is only half of what was actually allocated for it, and only a quarter of what was allocated for motor vehicle accident research. And of course, the grassroots organizers like Everytown and Moms Demand Action, they've been doing research as well, but the big money and the big research that people listen to is the federal level. Are you guys appalled yet? Yeah. All right, I got a question for you. When you think about gun violence, what cities or states immediately come to mind?
Detroit.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Detroit.
Detroit. Where else? LA. New York. Chicago, right? This is really interesting, I found this. Okay, the map there on the left shows actually gun death rates, with the lighter color being the least and the darker color being the most. Notice California, Illinois, New York. This is per capita. They actually are not that bad, right? And why is that? Here is the grading of gun laws in each of the different states, where the lighter are the Fs, the darkest are the A's, as they've been graded, and you see a correlation between there, right? Gun safety legislation works, hands down. Why do we even need federal research? I don't even know, because it's sort of so frigging obvious to me, right? And I also want to reiterate something that Katherine said earlier, okay? And that's that firearms violence, gun violence, is now the #1 killer of teens and youth and children. Okay, I want you to think about that. More than COVID, more than any illness, more than drunk driving, more than drugs, firearm violence. The majority of these firearm deaths, by the way, are from homicide, and the second is suicide. Blood boiling? Yes. Okay, I'm breathing. So what is the answer to keeping our kids safe, or anyone safe? Gun safety laws. That's all it is, right? Now, some people will say, more guns. Like, let's give our teachers guns, right? So they'll be nice and safe in school. You know, it's really interesting, the things that they've learned about these shootings. If you remember in Parkland and Uvalde in particular, the shootings show us that the police officers who are trained, barely and somewhat inadequately, they freeze, right? They become terrified and they make mistakes. Because when danger like that happens to any of us, our adrenaline spikes up, right? And Mother Nature shuts down our brains. It's a biological survival mechanism, and it takes years and years of training to overcome this response. Now, I like to think that I would act well. If I saw somebody coming in with a gun, I'd be like, oh yeah, I have no idea. I've never encountered such a thing, right? And the only people who are trained to do this are SWAT members. But it can take 45 minutes for them to get to the school, as it happened in Parkland and in Uvalde. So we're asking our teachers to react as well as SWAT members? Seriously? There is only one answer that has been proven so far to work, and that's just what Katherine told us. Gun violence prevention laws, gun safety laws like smart lock boxes, training and licensing, background checks, free and ready access to mental health services, and red flag laws. And if I sound pissed off, it's because I am. This is one of the most infuriating sermons I have ever written because the answer is so damn simple. Let's make a commitment today. Let's do this, all right? Are you done? Yes. Are you done? Yes. I want to hear it. You're done. Okay, I am done. So here's a couple of things you can do. Okay, first of all, who here lives or works in Huntington Beach? I know you may not want to actually be proud of that fact, but I'm here to tell you, okay, so on June 4th, which is on Tuesday, there is a resolution going before the City Council to make Huntington Beach a Second Amendment sanctuary. It is a stupid resolution, okay? It does absolutely nothing. It means nothing. All it does is serve to create division and hate. Tell your council members to not be cowards. To truly make true gun-safe laws. Not this BS. In fact, Katherine she has handing out what you can say when you want to contact them, or if you want to actually go there. But make your voice be heard. Be the smallest girl in the smallest grade who pays attention and does something. You know, the rest of us, I thought I was informed. I had no idea how bad things were until I started working on this sermon and talking with Katherine, and now I'm just getting really upset. But here's a lot of the places there I learned a lot about all of this, and I want to encourage you to go out there. I have signed up for almost all of these just to be kept informed, because what they're trying to do is change federal laws and local laws, and they will let you know when something is coming up so that you can write your senator or representative or whoever it is. They'll let you know about actions going on in your area. So sign up there. I know we all have enough emails, but this is important. Because what we want is simple things. Universal background checks. Did you know that 89% of the nation actually supports that? They actually support gun sense laws, 89%. We want to ban assault rifles. We want smart gun storage laws. We want red flag laws at the federal level. And some states have already had, and it's working. We can save lives if we can get this to happen at the federal level. And people do want this, but our legislators are friggin' cowards. I'm sorry, I don't normally like to give people labels, but they are. They're not standing up for our children, for all of us. And we are failing them. We can save lives, and it's gone on far too long. Our children are being killed, our neighbors, our friends, our families. How many more is it gonna take? You know, I noticed the title of the sermon was about cultivating peace, but I don't want peace. I want to raise a ruckus. I want to get pissed off. So let's do this. Let's go out there today and let's raise a ruckus in the streets. This has gone on far too long, and I'm done. Are you done? Yes. Right on. All right, let's do this, and let's sing Fire of Commitment.
Your spirit and sing our closing song.
From the light of days remembered, burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. From the light of days remembered, sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way. When we find deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living brings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Done. Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all the funds for the operating budget, ministries, and programs of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing half the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. This month, we are partnering with a Hachiman Tongva Conservancy. Now, my son Chance had asked, why do we always, at the beginning of the service, acknowledge that we're on the Hachiman and Tongva land? And he says, what's the point in that? What are we actually doing? So, in answer to his request, it's lovely for me to see this. We're not just talking about it, we're doing it. There are multiple ways in which you can support the church and this organization. You can mail a check. You could go through our website. You can use an app called Vanco Mobile. If you're a roomer, you can also simply put money in the basket as it's passed. The choice is yours. All the information is on our website, should you need it. And as always, thank you for your generosity.
We could be the healing when you're feeling all alone. We can be the reason to find the strength to carry on. In a world that's so divided, we shall overcome. We can be the healing. We can be the flower in the gun. We can be the healing. We can be the flower in the gun. What could I say to my son or to my daughter if they came and asked me about these days? What kind of reason could I give for all the hate that's standing in the way? Wish I could tell them that nobody's gonna judge them, and every stranger on the block is gonna love them. No bully in the world could ever hurt them, but I can't say that today. No, no one could ever take your pride from you. Speak your truth and let your spirit fly, 'cause we could be the healing when you're feeling all alone. We could be the reason, to find the strength to carry on. In a world so divided, we shall overcome. We could be the healing. We can be the flower in the gun. We could be the healing. We can be the flower in the gun.
What could I say to every woman who was ever told by a man don't try to reach too high? What could I say to every girl who was betrayed and told to keep the pain locked inside? Wish I could say nobody's ever gonna judge me. Every stranger on the block is gonna love me. No bully in the world is gonna hurt me, but I can't say that today. No, no, no one could ever take my pride from me. I speak my truth and let my spirit fly, 'cause we could be the healing when you're feeling all alone. We could be the reason, to find the strength to carry on. In the world so divided, we shall overcome. We can be the healing. We can be the flower in the gun. We can be the healing. We can be the flower in the gun.
It's like dropping pebbles into the ocean and seeing them spread ripples around the world. And me hear you say, whoa, whoa,
Whoa,
yeah.
yeah,
Whoa, whoa,
whoa,
yeah. Everybody say, whoa, whoa,
whoa,
yeah.
yeah.
Whoa, whoa, yeah. 'Cause we can be the healing when you're feeling all alone. We could be the reason to find the
please join us in singing We Gather Together, a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitudes for the many gifts that we share.
Well, I've expressed myself this morning, and now is that time when you get to express your feelings. This is a thing that we call Joys and Sorrows. It's a weekly ritual where you get to honor the important events and people in your lives, and you're invited, one and all, member, friend, visitor, to participate in this for Roomer and Zoomer as well. I'd like to begin. Let's see, is Leanna here? There she is. Leanna Sands is our faith community nurse, and she's going to help you light your candles up here. So if you've come here today holding something close to your heart, let's see here, why don't you light a candle up here. You can share your joy or sorrow on a slip of paper. If you'd like to share it with the community, you can simply come up and light a candle in silence. But if you'd like to share it, you can get this as you come in. You want to raise your hand, and whoop, right there, and she's right behind you. There you go. And then, of course, Zoomers, you can write in the chat, and I'll read those out loud while Leanna lights a candle for you. So most of you all know how this goes, so please come forward, light your candle, and then I'll read those joys and sorrows out loud. Awesome. Right, would you light a candle for Francie C. She says her granddaughter, Joy, her granddaughter, no, her great joy is that her granddaughter, Sierra Mayhew, celebrated her 27th birthday yesterday. She lives in New York City, and it's a joy, and is a joy to know. Happy birthday, Sierra. And we also have Lori K. would like to have a candle lit for our dear Bonnie W. Bonnie Wagner is her birthday next week. Let's see here. And let's see here. Got a number of them going on here. So Tamara C. has a sorrow. Her sorrow is that a God's Guns and Government organization has a logo which shows the Statue of Liberty holding a Bible and a machine gun. They have an event poster that shows Huntington Beach Council members Burns, Vandermark, and McKeon as speakers and successful elected officials that have moved the dial on election reform and banned masks, removed LGBT agenda, and restored voter ID. Ooh. Dave C. would like a candle lit. He says, please light a candle for him that last week he had the chance to see a couple, Dave and Linda L., that as a Mormon minister, when he was a Mormon minister, he married them 54 years ago in Ann Arbor, which was a great joy. But unfortunately, Linda has stage 4 liver cancer, and it is likely that will be the last time that he sees her. Let's see here. Kathy L. said, so grateful to have volunteered on Star Island preseason last week, also to spend time with her daughter Stacy and granddaughter and son-in-law. So if you know, Star Island is another UU place. Yeah. Peggy P. said, a joy for those who made it to the Shipley Nature Center yesterday and saw the nesting egrets and the blooming fried egg poppies. I don't know what a fried egg poppy is, but okay. There we go. I think that's it for there. So we've got a lot of people with joys and sorrows, a lot of joys today. Let's see, Jolyn here lit a candle of joy because Chance had another fun rock and roll performance yesterday. Chance is her son. Had a fun rock and roll performance yesterday doing British invasion music. He shredded on lead guitar. And Sophin Zoe said a candle of joy because she's celebrating her 45th birthday this week and grateful for family and friends near and far. And Barbara S. says she has a joy because 5 years ago she adopted her dog Augie. He has brought so much joy and love into my life. He loves everyone, but I'm happy I'm his person. Yeah. And these beautiful flowers are in honor were put together by Maureen M. Because the flowers were in honor of her daughter's 40th birthday. Aren't those beautiful? Sandy has outdone herself as always. And then I know that this is a joy for everybody who's been around for a while because Ulysses and Jeff are here. And Ulysses lit a candle of joy, says, we're happy to be able to visit our beloved church and seeing our friends, and we are delighted to have you back here with us today. Yay. And Alan and Gabby Block have two joys. One is that they're celebrating their 45th wedding anniversary. Dang. And their first grandchild was born on May 23rd. Viram Block says, we have pictures. So that is awesome. And Tom and Nancy L., they have a candle of joy because their grandson Ian, who just completed his coming of age ceremony at his congregation in Boston. He read exactly. So if you didn't know, coming of age is this big program we have in our UU churches. And at the end, they come up with a credo, and his credo was on friendship. He said they're very proud grandparents, so congratulations. And Sherry L. said that she had a joy on Tuesday. She says, I have the joy of certifying 9 people from 8 provinces in China as trainers in a program that she created. It's been a 3-year sacred journey.
Wow.
Yeah, if you didn't know, the work she does around the world is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And Donna M. lit a candle of joy because she says it's a joy to be with you in person and not on Zoom today. So yeah, her doctor wouldn't let her come for a while. All right, so let's see here. Oh, my goodness, okay, yeah. So Elizabeth Kay has a sorrow and a candle of hope. She said, please send my colleague and her 12-year-old son your healing energy. What started as a backache 2 weeks ago quickly progressed into internal bleeding and the removal of a tumor in his right kidney, which then rapidly progressed further, and he's now in a medically induced coma. They're taking each day an hour as it comes. Oh my goodness, Elizabeth. Whew, breathe. And Kristen M. says that today her beautiful niece, Caitlin McCarthy, would have been 21. We celebrate her life and are gutted by her passing always. And Paula P. would like to remember lost in gun violence, Mark Peterson. I want to also mention, as you know, as a church and as a minister, we are not allowed to say anything against any particular candidate. We can talk about issues, but we're not allowed to say anything for or against a candidate. But I just do want to say that this week we did see history being made when a former president of these United States was found guilty of 34 felony charges. And whatever you feel about the former president, I think it's still a sad day for our country, not because the court found him guilty, because our fledgling democracy has received a kind of a blow, right? It's taken a beating through all of this, and our country remains even more polarized, but we're coming through it. So let us hold in love all the joys and celebrations and all the hurts and sadness, whether they were spoken or silent. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect. Let all these moments remind us that we're not alone. I invite you to join me in a spirit of prayer. Spirit of compassion. We ache with grief, frustration, and anger about the terrible gun violence in our nation and the world. We pray for the children and teens who live with the anxiety and fear of gun violence every day in places they should be safe. We pray for the families who live with the horrific reality of a child who is killed. We pray for the teachers who struggle with keeping our children safe in a world they cannot control. We pray that the leaders who can create the laws to end gun violence to remember the children and have the courage to save those stolen lives. We pray for all of us to commit to creating a world for our children that is without gun violence. May it be so, and amen.
Let us join together as we extinguish the flame of our chalice and say together, we extinguish our chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're a congregation made up of people who all believe differently. And yet when we gather together, whether we are in the room or we are on Zoom, we make up one loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. If you're a guest, a visitor, or someone who has not yet been known to us, I invite you to become a part of this beloved community. If you would like to know more about our church, we invite you to either stop by the welcome table in the courtyard on the site, where we invite you to, where we have some goodies and information, or contact us at hello@ocuuc.org, and we will help you get connected. For our roomers, we are also happy to, are we going to offer a tour today?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Rather than, if you want to take a tour of the campus, we do that on some Sundays, but this Sunday we're going to be standing on the corner instead. We want everyone to feel a part of this beloved community, so please reach out and we will help you get connected.
All right, so announcements that are going on. Let's see here, Wendy's not here. No, she was going to do something. So if you don't know this, so we have our demonstration today, but we have our annual congregational meeting next week. So come here. If you're a member, you get to vote. And we'll be having some interesting things for you to vote on and some interesting information, because on the 16th, we're sure hoping to do a groundbreaking. What? I know. So for those of you who might be new at this, we're looking at building a new sanctuary right next door. So the other thing that didn't make it up there, which I'm sorry it didn't, is that this coming Saturday, for those of you who are new here, we've been having a wonderful sanctuary for our Ukrainian refugees. Our guests have been staying over there, but they're going to be leaving us. And so on Saturday, we're having a wonderful potluck with them. So at noon here on Saturday, please come out, say hello to them, and we're going to then bless them on the 9th as well as they go off into the world. They're getting their homes and everything set up. It's been a 2-year ministry with us, and it's been absolutely wonderful. So there's that going on. You can see all the wonderful things that are going on. I noticed that there's an atheist humanist agnostics group, the nonfiction book group. Come out for a while, as long as you can. Go out to the corner with us as we do our demonstration and everything. And then the other thing I also want to mention is school supplies, right? So we're starting to, okay, let me back up here. Wendy was supposed to be up here to do this, and I think she forgot. Wendy is our intern minister who is working with Danielle right now, getting her acclimated to the RA position. But her big leadership thing that she's going to be doing when she comes back this fall is working with Sharing Ourselves. And so she's going to be working on doing drives with them and helping us get involved in dealing with homelessness with them, because they're actually probably going to be moving across the street here in about 9 months. So we thought that would be a really cool thing to start building a relationship with them. So we're doing a school supply drive right now. We're going to be doing it all through June. So bring school supplies next week, and then we'll be bringing it over to SOS. And we're doing it now because they've got to get it all together by the time that they do it in August when the kids go back to school. So yeah. All right, I think that's basically lots of wonderful things going on. But let me ask you again, are you done? Yes. I'm sorry, what was that? Yes. Excellent. All right, then let's go out. Let's create a ruckus. All right, let's do this in about 10, 15 minutes. Get your coffee, and we'll head out. Let's sing our benediction.
Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out.
This service is over. Let our service continue.